Welcome. I am Emma Davis, and here are the details for you. The government statistician, Professor Samuel Kobina-Enim, has advocated a strong national statistical system that will be independent and will not be influenced by government. Citing the UK and the USA as examples, he stated that the national statistical system could be valuable in publishing undisputed facts and figures during elections. Professor Enim was speaking at the launch of the Amaris Institute of Statistics and Economic Research, which seeks to harmonize and improve statistics in Anglophone West Africa.
The Amaris Institute of Statistics and Economic Research seeks to address the problems of statistical capacity gaps in Anglophone West Africa by offering timely technical support to help disseminate data through an open data forum and provide just-in-time thematic reports to inform policy decisions. The Institute also plans to develop a structured training program across all member countries to ensure uniformity in statistical practices. At the launch, government statistician Professor Samuel Kobina-Enim re-echoed the need for statistical services to work independently without governmental influence.
It is time all of us rethink the independence of national statistical system. Last week, the government statistical services of the UK, also GSS, which oversees all statistics in the United Kingdom and is independent of the Office of the National Statistics, issued a statement that going into the elections, every statistics that will be put out there will be interrogated, and if it's not right, it would be clarified. We really need to get to the point where we define our independence based on our authority of the national statistical system, where the government's statistical services, as we have in the UK, which is independent, can boldly say that if you misuse statistics, we're going to put it in the right way. But if your board is made up of government employees, if the government statistician is scared of political issues, then to a large extent, we are careful in our dispensation. So we really need to ensure that that blurry relationship between the National Statistical System, its functions, its role, and the National Statistical Office is cleared.
Chief Executive of the Institute, Dr. Emmanuel Fiajo, outlines the objectives of the Institute.
Our goal is to take a brief census of all what has been done in the various member countries, and then come up with a program note, one that identifies the specific capacity needs of member countries, and then tailor our support to the various countries' needs, so that it's not going to be, one size fits all as we have in other in other countries. But then we will have sort of a bespoke approach to targeting our efforts towards the statistical needs of the various African countries.
The Amaris Institute of Statistics and Economic Research seeks to complement the World Bank and the IMF's effort to strengthen their capacity and deliver high-quality data through multi-donor trust fund programs.
The city is yet to recover strongly against the dollar post-IMF cash inflow and deal with the external creditors. That's a concern one may raise after monitoring developments on the currency market over the past 1 week. A while ago, I put together this report. Please listen.
It had been projected that after the deal with the bilateral creditors, then the city's rate of depreciation would slow significantly. Then later, we also told about the fact that it would take the deal with the Eurobond holders for things to normalize. However, the local currency is still under some sort of pressure despite all these developments. Maybe the icing on the cake should have been the $360 million from the IMF hitting the Bank of Ghana's account on Monday. But yet, things haven't improved that much. But there are some market analysts that have maintained that for these things, it may take a while before it positively impacts the market, insisting there is always a lag time. So if the city's performance is a demand and supply issue, then the Bank of Ghana may have to increase supply for the market to help things normalize. Or we still have to wait for a while.
Let's get on Zoom and speak to research lead at GCB Capital, Courage Boti. Mr. Boti, thank you very much for joining us. It is right for us to be worried that it has taken quite a long time for the Ghana cedi to rally after deal with IMF and the external creditors, right?
Well, good evening to your listeners. I'm not exactly sure it's a surprise. Um First of all, what is the monthly FX requirement of the BDCs again to import oil? It's about $400 million. So 360 million is like 1 month of the FX needs. Is it much relative to what the demand levels are in the economy and whether it meets, it substantially changes the dynamics? Probably not. Bank of Ghana has accumulated about 6.6 billion in reserves as we speak, and I think the year to date they are mentioning over 900 million as the accumulation. So this 360 really just adds to that. It doesn't change the dynamics for me drastically. Plus, the news of 360 million coming in, I believe, was well known ahead, several months in fact ahead, and we knew from start of I think last month that 28th of June is when the IMF board will sit and potentially approve our program and all that. So one will say that these expectations have been priced into behavior. So you realize that the cedi is relatively stable compared to what we have seen in probably recent weeks and times. But then it has been quite stable even before the 360 million was disbursed on Monday. That is because this has been priced into expectations. And so the inflow doesn't alter much. Plus, the whole expectation around Eurobond restructuring, we haven't completed Eurobond restructuring. That is the truth. We may have reached an agreement in principle on broad terms, but we're still waiting for the official creditor committee to give an approval of whether the agreement so reached meets the comparability of treatment criteria. And then government will still have to go through the process of consent solicitation. It is after all that process that debt to be exchanged, and then we could do settlement, and then we can say we put pay to Eurobond restructuring, and then we can realize the savings. So at this moment, everything we're talking of in savings is potential when the assumptions, the terms so agreed, and the assumptions behind it all are fulfilled, and then we can talk about savings of about 4.7 or so billion and thereabouts. And so at this moment, there is that positive news effect that is indicative stability, but we haven't actually realized some of these things yet to trigger correction. You realize that the same developments are in the Eurobond market. You are not seeing Eurobond yields rally so much. In fact, at best, you can talk of stability. And in fact, even this moment, people are trading Eurobonds just to take advantage of whatever is coming. And so you can see even the dynamics in some yield movement that are quite adverse. So I think the dynamics are really the expectations of all these things happening have been priced in. And so don't expect any very significant change, especially when the inflow we are talking about is 360 million, which doesn't alter the dynamics that much.
So you say the cedi is stable, quite stable now, but in my opinion, I just want to find out what can government or Bank of Ghana do to make it more stable and to trigger reaction on the market?
Information, moral switching, like they've been doing. And you realize that the minister's last two press conference has been quite forceful in arguing that we have the reserves. It's been forceful in outlining the expected sources of inflows in the coming months towards end of year. And he was paying again, I think was it over the weekend press conference or Monday press conference, to highlight the fact that Cocoa Board is negotiating a new syndication. World Bank would disburse some money. AFDB would disburse some money. And if you put all those together, we have a substantial inflow between now and end of the year. That is to assure the market that there is no need to panic. and he's tackling the issues of comments from some opposition members that may distort the market and why people should disregard that and believe in the communication that things are correcting and all that. We need more of those assurances. I think later this month, the Bank of Ghana Monetary Policy Committee would have a meeting again, and they would come up with a press statement and they would address concerns around these issues again. And if we have that assurance from the market about what the policy interventions are, how it's headed, and what results they are yielding, it quells the speculation. If it fills the gap that would have been filled with speculation, and then it brings calm to the market. So we need more of such communication. We need more of such assurances on the market. But in addition to that, we also need hardcore numbers to support this. We are in an election year. People's concerns are fiscal overruns. We are assuring people that data should support that. And so mid-year review is coming up. We are hearing some data around. We should get assurance that between January and June, the fiscal numbers are within check. And revenue may have underperformed in quarter one. We should see the effort to try to close that gap in quarter two. We should see the efforts in expenditure rationalization and towards ultimately sustaining the fiscals in an election year without breaching the target. When those signs are clear enough, the speculative behavior will die out automatically.
Much Kite Buti, he's the research lead at GCB Capital. Moving on, Ghana has won the mandate to develop a consistent policy document for the governance of data among African countries. This will mean that Ghana has the responsibility of working on a new strategy to describe how data should be used by stakeholders in a uniform approach across the region. Chief Executive of the Data Protection Commission, Patricia Opoku-Edusei, disclosed this to journalists after addressing a validation workshop on data strategy.
Asian meeting, which was organized by the Ministry of Communications and Digitalization, together with the Data Protection Commission, seeks to collate views on a data strategy which is being developed for the country and subsequently the African region. This move is aimed at shaping the nation's data-driven future. Ghana has therefore won the mandate to develop and implement this strategy for other governments in the continent to learn from. Executive Director for the Data Protection Commission, Patricia Edusei-Poku, believes that the strategy will receive cabinet approval soon.
The data we use must be of a certain format, certain categorization, must be standardized. There has to be a consistency of approach so that how Ghana is using it will be the same way Nigeria is using it, the same way Kenya is doing their data management, and so on and so forth. And so be out of the AU data policy framework, Ghana won the flagship as the flagship nation to develop the blueprint for the data governance of the African continent. What that is we've documented the regional document that details how data should be governed and used in the region. And out of that, now African countries are customizing it for their national use. Ghana is now, from the regional blueprint, now customizing it for the Ghana data strategy, which we are working on today.
Deputy Minister for Communications and Digitalization, Charles Ichampon, on behalf of the government, pledged the country's support to the strategy and assured of the ministry's full commitment.
And all institutions managing key data assets to join us in this important endeavor. We hope that your deliberation will be fruitful and will be able to deliver the planned strategy as soon as possible. We assure you of the ministry's commitment to this project and hope we have a good working document.
After the stakeholders' engagement, the document will be forwarded to the partners for an input before final approvals.
This is Business Live with me, Emma Davis. We'll take a quick break. We'll be back with more. Welcome. Deputy Director General at the National Communications Authority, Dr. Isa Osei-Yeboah-Boateng, has joined calls for government to regulate the use of artificial intelligence in the country. According to him, this is critical due to the prevalent use of AI in many economic activities. Dr. Yeboah-Boateng was given a keynote speech on the role of AI in emerging economic opportunities at the graduation ceremony of Nobel International Business School. He therefore believes that there is a growing need for transparent and responsible AI systems to support economic growth.
Use of artificial intelligence is fast becoming the order of the day in many economic activities globally, but with little attention to it in Africa. In Ghana, the government aims to establish clear boundaries and standards for AI development while recognizing its potential for economic growth. According to the Deputy Director General of the National Communications Authority, Dr. Isa Osei Yeboah-Boateng, the system must be regulated to ensure users are responsible for the impact. He was speaking to congregants at this year's graduation ceremony of the Nobel International Business School in Accra.
It's worth noting that the Ghana Police Service is considering the use of predictive policing and incorporating big data and data mining to combat crime. Ghana needs AI regulation. As AI becomes more prevalent, there is a growing need for transparent and responsible AI systems. Some believe that only truly autonomous AI should be given legal status. But since this type of AI does not yet exist, it's more reasonable to hold the designers, manufacturers, owners, and users of AI responsible for any harm caused.
Founder of the school, Professor Kweku Etuahini-Jima, used the occasion to appeal to the graduating students to leverage the knowledge earned from the educational journey to impact on society.
Was to take people who are already successful, who have an open mind and want to be challenged because they want to do more. More for, not for themselves, but for society. So you've gone through that journey for 3 years, some of you 4 years. Now the journey is ending, but the real impact of your education begins from today. You have to leverage the accolade of being a doctor to show that you can make a difference, positive difference in the lives of those who are not that privileged to be in your position.
The Nobel International Business School aims to transform tertiary education and skills development in the country.
Israel's tech startup sector has an outsized global influence, but remains held back by major political and structural issues. To understand Israel's position as a technology pioneer and how a developing country like Ghana can learn from them, I was in Tel Aviv in Israel and engaged some key stakeholders in the tech space.
Technologies are becoming increasingly complicated and interconnected. Cars, airplanes, medical devices, financial transactions, and electricity systems all rely more on computer software than ever before. Technology can be a source of tremendous optimism. It can help overcome some of the society's greatest challenges, including climate change, famine, and diseases. For those who believe in the power of innovation and the promise of creative destruction to advance economic development and lead to better quality of life, technology is a vital economic driver. But it can also be a tool of tremendous fear and oppression, embedding biases in automated decision-making processes and information processing algorithms, exacerbating economic and social inequalities within and between countries to a staggering degree, or creating new weapons and avenues for attack. This led to the development of cybersecurity, a distinct field throughout the 1960s and 70s, which exploded into the public consciousness in the late 1980s after a series of events that highlighted just how dangerous lack of security could be. Israel has earned a reputation in recent years as a tech powerhouse, It has the second highest concentration of high-tech companies in the world after Silicon Valley and the largest number of startups per capita in the world. But how did a state with only 9 million inhabitants become a technology giant and a favorite destination for tech multinationals? Let's take a listen to Executive Director of Cyber 7, Daniel Martin, as he explains the initiatives implemented to have gotten the country to this stage.
First of all, if we're talking about the economy, okay, here in Israel, so the leading category, I would say, in the high-tech scene here in Israel is cybersecurity. Now, once you know you're strong in that, you need to make sure not to stay at the top, but not to be at the top, but to stay there. And I think that we helped a lot of Israeli startups and companies and connecting them to investors and potential customers. So we helped closing a lot of deals very easily, something that never happened before. That was we working in the name of the government, and for the private sector, it's really innovative that there is kind of an entity that helps them with no fee involved. So the Israeli industry has a lot to offer. Now, once there's a country or foreign government that actually wants to launch any project regarding cybersecurity, if it's education, training, establishing a national SOC or something like that, Cyber 7 can advise and help them find the right partners to do that.
The big question is, where does Africa stand in the evolving technological sector? Here is Chief Executive Officer of Israel Innovation Authority, Drobin, outlining how he believes Africa would benefit from the technology and cybersecurity space.
In a sense, maybe Africa has an opportunity to leap jump here because many of the continent infrastructure is behind. So instead of going through all the stages that in other countries had to go, you can jump straight ahead to the most innovative solutions and leverage those amazing developments. To be frank, I'm not an expert about Africa and the capabilities in the countries there, but for sure you have to be ready for AI. It's not something that you just take and implement like that. You have to have the right regulation in place to make sure that AI is not used against people and against human rights and privacy and so on. You have to have the right infrastructure in the country in terms of data centers and computers, the right volume of energy supply. So there are some necessities before you can implement fully the benefits of AI.
For Joy Business, I am Emma Davis reporting from Tel Aviv, Israel.
And back here in Ghana, I'm still Emma Davis, and that's how we part company tonight on Business Live. But for more news, do log on to myjoyonline.com and be updated. Have a good evening.